All right, we are live. All right, guys, thanks for joining us with the logistics of marketing. Like always, I'm just going to kick things off with a quick introduction of the series itself. So, over the past few years, we've seen like brokers, freight tech companies, other transportation providers enter the space and start incorporating a lot more marketing into their business. That being said, it's still pretty new in the space. So we get questions about like where do you start? Where do you first learn about marketing and everything that goes with it? Particularly if you don't have background in the area, how do you understand what to do? So at Kinetic, one of our overarching like goals or principles is industry education. So we started the logistics of marketing to bring in industry experts to talk about just how marketing can be used in the industry. And each episode we address a specific topic. Today we're going to do marketing a new product or service. And I'm super excited. We have Jessie and Teresa here. Do you two want to do some quick intros? Teresa, maybe starting with you.
Sure. I'm Teresa Ronquillo, the marketing lead at Metafora, formerly Carrier Direct. I've been with the company about a year and a half. While it is my first role in the transportation and logistics industry, and I've learned so much about TNL over these past couple of years, I've been in marketing my whole career, like 10 plus years. Started out in book publishing marketing, where I got to work with New York Times bestselling authors, and that whole like the children's book industry. Then I made the jump to big tech, where I worked with IBM for a while, had a few other marketing jobs, and fortunately have landed here at Metafora, where I've really had the opportunity to really kind of build a brand new marketing function here. The team had started some marketing tactics before I started, but I had like such an opportunity to grow the marketing function here. It's been great.
No, thanks for coming on here. And like I'm looking forward to your perspective on things because like as you know, like Kinetic and Metaphor are working on a new product together. So I'm really excited to get your perspective on all of that. Jessie, you and I also work together. Do you want to do a quick intro here?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I am Jessie Bumbarner. I am the Director of Marketing at CargoChief. I've actually joined CargoChief at the end of last year, so about 6 months in, very new to the industry as well, but been in marketing for over 10 years, just like Teresa. My background has been very all over the place. I started in college in broadcasting. I was telling Nick and Teresa how I was doing sports interviews freshman year of college and was a jockey throughout my whole career of college. But been going through the whole marketing phase with manufacturers, med spas, now technology. So super excited to share my experience about new products because working with various companies, we people launch new products and services all the time.
No, they do. And like I feel like we're seeing it more and more in the logistics space. Like you said, it comes up a lot, whether you're a tech company launching a new product or like a brokerage even adding a new like mode of transportation. There's any number of different ways it pops up in logistics. So today, just again to review the topic, we're going to talk through what goes into this process from a marketing perspective. And let's set the stage with like a really broad question that we'll start out with Jessie. How is marketing a new product or service different from marketing an existing product or service? Is it different or am I just making things up?
Honestly, it is different. When you are launching a new product, there's so much planning and strategy that comes before even launching something that I feel like a lot of people don't really recognize. Some people say, you know what, let's just do a webinar. And it's like, that's not how you launch a product. You really have to identify, like, why are you creating this product or service? Who is it for? A lot of times, a new product or service is born from someone stating to you, hey, I have this problem. Can you solve it for me? And then you're working with a lot of times like that customer, that beta customer or prospect that you're talking to really build something for the market. So, I mean, for us at CargoChief, we this year alone, now we'll probably reference this a lot throughout the our time for the next hour because I'm living and breathing new products and services this year. We're integrating with so many new TMS partners, technology partners, and factoring firms. So honestly, like it's like I'm on a monthly basis right now launching a new product or service. But you really have to build out a go-to-market strategy. A lot of people in this industry and logistics they don't really know what a go-to-market strategy is. And really it's just a framework of really identifying why are you creating this product? Who is it for? Who's your target market? Really trying to figure out what's your competitive differentiator. Like your product may not be the only product out there. Like there are other people that also solve these issues, but how do you do it better? And really identifying that so you can build your value prop, your messaging, and then identifying what channels do I have that I can then go reach out to people and really promote this product to grow lead gen. And so like you were saying, Nick, it's not just about technology, but like we have people um, working for 3PLs, trying to grow their business, like trying to find like a different sector or niche for their company. And just like answering those questions can really help you build a stronger strategy than just saying, all right, we're going to do this. And then, but what are the next steps? So I definitely have to say there's so much planning and strategy before you even launch something and communication and collaboration. That's why a lot of companies have marketing teams to really help with that launch. Teresa, you can definitely chime in too, because I know you guys are growing as well.
Yeah, sure. That I totally agree with everything you said. And yeah, what I would just add on is when you're launching a new product or service, it feels like more of an opportunity than when you're launching existing products and services because you're announcing something new, you're ideally tackling a pain point that has been noticeable and now you have a new solution for it. And you're in many cases, like what we did recently with Pocket, our integrations platform, is when we launched it, we were looking for early adopters. So not only is it this new product or service that's now available to the wider market, but you, like, to our target market, you have the opportunity to be one of the first to be part of it. So there's like, it seems like an opportunity to make a bigger splash with a new product or service. But yeah, agree with everything Jessie said about there's so much that goes into it before launching, and it's so important to know your audience and have that strategy in place.
Yeah. So Jessie, you mentioned something I want to go back to real quick that like isn't on our set of list of questions here, so you're going to kill me for this. But
Oh, no,
you talked about like knowing the problem that you're solving and providing a solution to that problem. I've talked about this with a few people recently, but in transportation specifically, do you feel like the audience needs to be like, do they know what their problems are? Or sometimes do they need to be educated on the problem itself? I ask because I hear a lot of tech companies tell me that their biggest competition is the status quo, right? So a lot of times they get so entrenched in what they're doing that, in my opinion, they sometimes don't know they have a problem.
you are totally right. So there are people that will be like, hey, I have this problem, but a lot of people don't. They won't find out that they have a problem until someone else tells them. Or they're seeing that their numbers aren't right. And it's like, why aren't we meeting our expectations or our goals that we have? And you really have to like take a step back to really identify, okay, what is our challenge? I mean, so for a lot of our customers, it's expanding capacity. Like they were like, okay, our network of carriers that we have right now isn't working out. So what are we going to do to help with that? And right there, that's a problem. Um, and so I definitely have to say, you also have to like listen to your customers too. So like going back to like building out a new product, it's all about like listening to your customers. What are they saying? What are their issues? And that's really what births a new product or a service, is really listening to them and understanding and identifying, hey, they have this issue. They may not know about it, but we're going to create something to solve it. And then they will realize, oh, I do have that problem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Teresa, like you talked about the early adopters. I guess my question for you is, how do you go about identifying who those early adopters are in the industry? Are there any like tips or tricks to that?
Well, the good thing about early adopters is they are eager to they kind of self-identify. So yeah, so we think that getting the word out to our target market and then promoting it as the early adopter, it's more of that like kind of that marketing pull to encourage people who identify as early adopters, who usually are proud to be that, to encourage them to get in touch.
That makes sense. And it kind of ties into the next question here. We were talking about like knowing your customers. Like, how important is that, and how do you go about doing it? Like, how do you get a handle on your customer base and what's important to them?
Yeah, so agreed. It is so important, probably one of, if not the most important thing in marketing. I'm lucky at Metafora in that a lot of my colleagues have been in the shoes of our customers. So there's that element that I get to learn from my teammates, but also it's so important to have those relationships with your customers so you can keep that conversation going, like Jesssie said, like listening to them, understanding their pain points, helping them get to the root issue of those pain points. Like sometimes people will have a problem, but the root is maybe something else, or it's like coming from somewhere else. And then I try to stay, like being newer to the industry, I try to stay in tune with the industry news, trying to follow the different sources that our customers follow, kind of be where they are, understand what they're reading, what events they're going to, and just like staying in the know that way really helps. So there's a lot of qualitative data you can get from that by, of course, the conversation, staying in tune with like the news and what people are talking about on LinkedIn in our industry. And then, of course, there's quantitative data as well. Like as much as people are talking about certain topics and pain points, there's the data that you can see from what web pages are getting the most traffic, what web pages are having the longest time people visiting. So you can see like, oh, not only are people talking about X, Y, and Z, but they're spending a lot of time on our integrations page, which indicates that they are interested in that. Things like that. So it's important to look at both the qualitative and quantitative data when learning about your customers.
Yeah, and kind of like a related topic to that is not just the importance of your like knowing your customers, but also your messaging to your customers. And like Jessie, let me get your thoughts on that. How do you figure out what your messaging is to those customers?
It's all about interviews, listening to what people are saying. There's a framework I like to utilize. It's called a value matrix. So if you want to Google that, you can. But it's really a great way to like identify, okay, going back to who's your target market, who are your buyers' personas? Like, who is this product for? And you list those people out, and then you list out what are those pain points that each of them has, and then what does the product that you're launching or service, what's the value that helps with that pain point? And that can really help curate the messaging. And I think that type of matrix can help someone who is very new or just like they don't know where to start. That's a great just Excel sheet, put in some thoughts, and then you can share it with your team. I think messaging is always changing, and so don't stress about, okay, this is like my brief and that's all it is. I definitely think optimization and testing things out is so keen when launching a product, especially in the early stages. Really see like what captures people, like what is attracting them. Are you really speaking to the problem and the solution and what's in it for them? So when it comes to messaging, definitely speak to the people, like Teresa was saying, but test things out. Don't be like, okay, this is it, we're done. Like always be optimizing.
Yeah, you mentioned buyer personas a minute ago, and like I know from some of my conversations with people who are in freight, they might not necessarily know what that means. What are buyer personas?
Buyer personas are pretty much the people who you're marketing to. So for instance, for us, I like putting things in
Yeah.
examples. I think that's easier. So our personas are freight brokers, carrier salespeople, operations, the people that are actually using the product. Going back to like some other companies that I've worked for in like fintech, we sold automation for financial professionals. And so really it was for like the CFO, the accounts payable specialist, the accounting manager, the finance director. So all the different roles that would be utilizing that product or service, those are your buyer personas. And they are all different. They all have different pain points because they are all different levels in that department or that role. So if you've never created buyer personas, that's really the first
Something you
place
should
to
do.
start. That is your target market. Who is this product for? And those are your buyer personas.
Nice. How granular do you get with them? Like,
Um,
meaning, do you go into, like, I know some people who do this, so I'm curious. Like, do you go into like specific revenue ranges, like different items that are already in their tech stack? Like, how detailed do you make these personas, or does it just vary?
I think it just varies on the marketer and the company and the product. I mean, you can definitely, I think when it comes to revenue, that's more of your ICP, your ideal company profile. Like who are you, what type of companies are you going
Mhm.
after? And I think that's where like revenue comes in to play, how many employees are at the company. Um, those like the location, those type of factors. Whereas so that's high level, and then like you going down to the people level of like who are the people utilizing. So what are the companies that you want to target, and then who are the people that you want to target. um, so definitely
Okay.
keep those in mind.
Makes a lot of sense. And to kind of circle back to the like messaging point we were talking about before I sidetracked us, how do you keep your messaging consistent throughout your company? Because like you got your marketing folk, you have like multiple different salespeople who could all be saying different things. Are there tips and tricks to making sure everyone's on the same page?
Oh my gosh, I don't. So honestly, I feel like marketing has to be the messaging policeman or woman in the company. Like it is your responsibility as a marketer to make sure that the company, everyone from the CEO to your salespeople to your co-founders, to people in customer success or customer support, they all know the same messaging. They're all speaking the same language. And I definitely think to do that, document. I know so many companies that don't document how like the product and like all the features and benefits when they're building it. So like marketing is like, okay, we have this product or service. How do you want to talk about it? And I'm like, well, how does it work? So documentation is key from development all the way to marketing, and making sure that's accessible to everybody. Over communicate, over distribute, like just make sure our company's pretty small for CargoChief. I think we're under 30 employees. And so we Slack heavily throughout our company. We email, we just make sure everyone is in the loop. And I think that's so key. Even if you're a larger company, I mean, I worked for a company that had over 1,000 employees with a marketing team of almost 40 people. And that has challenges in itself with communication, but just dis- document, distribute, over communicate. I think that will help. And just be the police, just be the bad guy,
Okay.
just make sure that everyone is aligned.
I like that. Teresa, I'd like to get your take on that too, because like I know you guys have a lot going on at Metafora, and like I know the people there, like everyone's great. One of them is a particular wild card who has a tendency to say whatever he's thinking at any time. How do you keep your messaging consistent?
Yes, agree with Jesssie. It's a big responsibility on marketing. What we do at Metafora overall is we do have brand guidelines that we share with the team, which came into play especially with our recent rebrand. You know, just
Mhm.
making sure the whole team understood why we rebranded, what it means, and like the talking points associated with that, because we knew we were going to get a lot of questions. And then similarly with new products and services, having like a standardized point of view on, this is Metafora's point of view on integrations in freight, transportation, and logistics, and here are the benefits of Socket. And like making sure, what we do is we have like a monthly sales and marketing alignment to try and like make sure we're all on the same page, keep in touch, that kind of thing. But in between that, of course, having that constant flow of communication, and then, yeah, just making sure that marketing is sharing the resources that we're creating so that people are on the same page. And yeah, just trying to make it clear across the team, like, this is what we're promoting, these are the talking points. Yeah, and of course, open to other people's feedback and ideas to add into that. But yeah, trying to keep the whole team aligned is definitely a fun responsibility.
I can only imagine. So you mentioned like the rebrand earlier, and I mean, I've seen tons and tons of information about it, like on LinkedIn, everywhere I look. So let me ask you, like, what methods do you use to get the word out? Is it press releases, sales collateral, social media, literally everything? Do certain things jump out?
Yes, hashtag all of the channels. I mean, really, as much, yeah, especially when it's a launch or a new big announcement, trying to get the word out anywhere and everywhere. So, of course, a press release is important, and then publishing that on as many channels as you can. So, we, of course, publish on our own personal blog, but then we also distribute through like PR Newswire to get that larger reach. We've seen some success with that, where the press releases will get picked up by larger news sources and syndicated. So that's been great. Of course, we do an e-blast to our marketing database, all the social media, like sharing on social media. And then a big part of that is really encouraging people to engage and share. So especially with the rebrand's a great example, because the whole team was thankfully so excited about it, and everyone was willing to share and re-engage and get the word out. Especially on LinkedIn, you probably saw like that first couple of weeks. Yeah, we were hearing, like, everybody was hearing about the rebrand, which was great. And then, I mean, other assets and content as you have the resources to create. So we also have the Extra Mile podcast by Metafora, which is a great tool for us to talk about new products and services or things in like new topics in the industry. And then we're able to pitch these topics to other podcasts, trying to get more people to talk about whatever the topic at hand is. And then knowing your publicity opportunities. So for example, Metafora has a weekly spot on FreightWaves Now, which has been really helpful and like helps us reach a larger audience, and especially so specific to the industry. That's always great. And then, yeah, any other, like if you have an opportunity for webinars, sales enablement, collateral, blog posts, I mean, really anything and everything that you are able to share the message is helpful.
Yeah, so I want to talk to both of you about like social media a little bit more. I mean, it's something that like we use at Kinetic a lot, and like I personally have seen a lot of benefit from it. I guess Teresa, we were just talking a second ago. So are there particular social media channels that you guys use, particular platforms, anything about any of those that jump out at you?
Sure. LinkedIn is where we've seen the most engagement. So that's where we see a lot of people posting. That's where we share most of our like social media posts. We do also have a Twitter account where we share as well, but I've noticed we'll see more engagement on LinkedIn. So that's kind of our primary social media platform.
Okay. And Jessie, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely have to piggyback on that. LinkedIn, number one. And that's actually unique to the logistics supply chain industry. Because I've had experience in other industries, I haven't really seen that much out of LinkedIn. But for this industry, it is wild how much there's so much engagement. Since I've been with CargoChief, it's been 6 months. I really started to learn that it's all about just people want that personal touch. So when you are launching a new product, Yes, that's a little salesy, but limit how much salesiness you have on your social media platforms. Even though it is salesy, you can pivot it into something that's more personable. So, for instance, like we just launched our new integration with Thai software, and we did the press release. We did a lot of like your basics when launching a new product, but it also associated with FreightWaves' future of supply chain. So we did a lot of posts of them together at the show and tagging each other. And I've actually seen more engagement with our LinkedIn and getting new followers when you are showing like real people, tagging your partners, tagging the individuals itself, not just the companies. That will definitely expand your reach on these social media platforms when you're engaging with other people. So, I mean, like, if you have to look at social media and like what content you're sharing for your new product, yes, like differentiate with like blog articles, press releases, imagery, testimonials, but definitely see if you can find like that human aspect of like, can we get a picture of like the co-founders together or the development team that created this new product or service and highlight them? Like, just bring in your employees too. I think that definitely will help because in this industry, LinkedIn is a definite key. But I will have to add, because Nick, I've heard this from like you and Blythe and others, that like TikTok is starting to
Oh yeah.
ramp up. I don't know if that's something that like technology partners are getting into, but I do know that like 3PLs, freight brokers, they're getting more into video, TikToks, YouTube. And so if you are in that space, I think that those channels will be huge benefiters for you all.
I
So
can't wait to start seeing the freight tech TikToks. I can only imagine what those are going to be. Um, I like what you mentioned about like not making it too salesy, and
Mhm.
totally agree with that. Like you know that there are people, I'm going to try not to mention specific tech companies here, specific brokers, where you see them on another webinar or another like podcast. You're like, oh, here's so and so again selling me whatever product he's got, and like the educational content is much more effective, like in my opinion at least. Um, Teresa, like outside of those channels, I've found like word of mouth to be really important, particularly in this industry. Like everybody knows each other. You know, it's so incestuous that everybody knows everybody else. How do you leverage that?
Yes, word of mouth marketing is so valuable. And there's a couple, well, one, ideally it's happening organically, where really you're making your customers so happy and doing such a good job that they are genuinely just talking about the work that you did for them and spreading, spreading their reviews, spreading the message of how pleased they were with your team. And that has happened, like, thankfully that has happened with us. Like, we have people come to Metafora saying, oh, I heard about the work you did for so-and-so, or I, heard about so-and-so working with you and I want to learn more. So that's kind of like the biggest compliment and a great way to also have the marketing work. But to kind of like augment that or encourage that in the marketplace, yeah, it's important to have customer testimonials. Like, have your customers be willing to share a quote about working with your team and having them allow you to like post it on the website, share it in your marketing materials, getting their sign off to like share that widely. And then also like customer success stories, like we have a customer who was willing to come on camera and talk about their experience with us and share their recommendation, and stuff like that is so great because it's like we can promise you like how good we are at making your business better, but like hearing it from the source, like hearing it from the actual customer, is so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Jessie, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with testimonials. And don't just do like written testimonials. What Teresa was saying with video, I think that's definitely an asset that is beneficial. We're actually starting to do video testimonials as well. And you don't have to always do that in-house. You can outreach it. And so we found a company that helps us do that. So I'm excited for new customer stories to launch. Um, but yeah, definitely once you're launching a product, it is key to, in your strategy, your marketing strategy, to have a section for case studies, maybe do a webinar, a panel webinar with like a customer or two, so they can really describe their experience and their results. Because that will really help others understand, okay, you have this new product, what's in it for me? And that's one term that I always carry when I am writing or creating anything, is putting myself in our buyer persona's shoes, our target market shoes, and saying, what's in it for me? Like, if I am a freight broker, why do I need this technology, or do I need X, Y, and Z? So as a marketer, it's so important to just like be in that person's shoes. And testimonials and speaking to your customers can really get you there.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I mean, it's much more impactful, or at least it was for me when I was brokering freight. When I saw those testimonials, I was like, oh, like I know that brokerage. They're using this product. Okay, I should probably check it out. Or like even like if I was looking for new tech, like I would oftentimes just call up a buddy of mine who was at a different brokerage. Hey man, what are you using? Oh, I really like XYZ product. Like you're immediately gonna go check that out. Um, Another thing I wanted to touch on here, Teresa, I'll kick this to you. This is a lot. How do you stay organized? And I'm asking you because like I've seen some of your spreadsheets that like as we're going through this product launch that we're gonna do, and I'm terrible at this. So how do you keep yourself organized?
Yes. Spreadsheets. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm a little old fashioned with like a standard to-do list, like a very detailed to-do list that doesn't get lost. I put everything in my calendar as well. And then there's so many tools, like thankfully these days, there's so many tools to help with that. Like in the past, I've used things like Trello and Airtable and Basecamp, things like that, which help just keep on track and making sure things don't fall off the table. And then, yeah, that accountability of like tagging people, like if you need help from the team, making sure everybody knows what is needed, making sure we have the resources to accomplish that, trying to stay on top of deadlines and like timelines. But yeah, it's detailed to-do list, putting everything in the calendar, and just like taking time in the day to like get organized versus like getting caught up in the day-to-day and like task after task. I'm really good about looking at that list, prioritizing, figuring out what needs to happen right now, what can wait a little bit, and then just like, yeah, finding the best time to do that. So, but yeah, and even HubSpot has like a projects tool. So definitely get the digital help where you can.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about the tools. Like I'm not super familiar with them. Like what do they do for you that like beyond a spreadsheet?
Sure. So like HubSpot projects, you can like break things out into the different elements and like make even more specific to-do lists within each task. And you can tag people, like assign people different things and then put it in the calendar, like a to-do date. It will send you reminders. You can check in on it regularly, that kind of thing. And there's so many more, like there's so many different tools these days for that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Jessie, anything to add to that?
No, not really, because I mean, I utilize Excel sheets for certain groups or certain people, but like for myself, it's my calendar, and I utilize Monday.com, which is another project management system for like specifically for marketers. So I definitely recommend, like, as a marketer, definitely prioritize your organization, because I think marketing, you get so much thrown at you. You're wearing so many different hats. I know for me, as a one woman show in marketing, I am in charge of everything. So I definitely have to be on top of my game. But I'm also old school. I have a whiteboard right next to me where anytime we're like, hey, we have a new partner. All right, let's add it to the list. And so I'm like running list of all of our integration partners that we're going to be launching this year. And just any like things I need, like hot, like references I put on this whiteboard. And honestly, it's not that large. I think I need a bigger one, but yeah, Excel sheets, over communicate. I try. That's why, like, we as a company, we utilize Slack so much. That way we can record a lot of stuff
Mhm.
there too. Um, but yeah, utilize technology when you can.
I like it. So one question I want to touch on that we haven't yet was we've been talking a lot about like marketing this stuff to like prospects and new customers. What about your existing customers? What if you launch an additional service or an additional product? How do you market this to your existing customer base? Is it at all different than brand new ones?
Is it to me or
It's
Teresa?
it's to you, Jessie.
Oh, okay. I definitely think it's different because your customers already know who you are. So they know. So like, let's say you're existing company, you have an existing product, you have customer base, but now you're adding a new product or feature to your existing product. So like people already know you as a brand and they see the value, but now it's like, hey, I have something else for you. Why do I need that? So there's some similarities, but then also you don't have to like stress about doing so much like brand awareness for your company itself. It's more of so the product and feature to your existing. And it's an upgrade, honestly. So it's not like a net new sale, it's a upgraded sale. And so like for instance, for like a freight tech company like us, a lot of our new services are with our integration partners and adding more DFM to like all the TMSs out there. And so it's telling the customers that we already have, hey, now you have this, you can now connect C4 with your TMS and have all the same features, but more. And so you're just giving them more added value at that point. So it all depends on like really what the new product or service is, honestly. But I definitely think there's similarities, but also some differences.
Okay, so like the way I want to kind of round up this discussion questions here is with this question: what did I miss that we should touch on today? And like, I don't have Zach here, who's my marketing person at Kinetic, who like handles a lot of the marketing questions. So I'm kind of winging it. Teresa, what have I missed today that we should have talked about?
Sure. Well, we covered a lot of really great topics. And to Jessie's point, marketing can cover so many things. Like it's such a broad world. But I think some of the important things that I would like to also mention are the function of marketing as sales enablement. So we did talk a little bit about sales and marketing alignment, but especially with and like messaging and keeping that like standard across a company. But I think it's also worth mentioning, especially with a new product or service, making sure that you know what the sales team needs at each point of the customer journey. So like, what does sales need to initiate the conversation? What does sales need to help convert or like encourage that consideration? And then of course, what does sales need to close? And it's a lot of times it's this content that you're hopefully working on anyways, like the case studies and the downloadables and all of that, like thought leadership, that kind of thing. But making sure that you're really in touch with your sales team, and yeah, if there's something like understanding what they're hearing from prospects and customers, like what questions they're asking, what obstacles they're having to overcome in the sales process, and that really will inform your marketing content, like touching on those points. So sales enablement, and then the other thing is we kind of were talking before we started about how like the most important thing about content marketing is that it's providing value to the audience, that it's the purpose of content marketing is really to educate and inform and to share that expertise. Yeah, and like to not make it too salesy. So I think those are like two really important things to touch on. And then the examples I'll give are like with two of the launches that we did recently with Metafora. So one, you've already heard me talk about Socket, and then so a new product that we launched recently, and then even more recently, we launched a new service around mergers and acquisitions. And with both of those launches, we made sure that we were talking about related topics leading up to the announcement of the new product or service. So with Socket, we did a whole blog series about challenges with integrations in transportation and logistics, the history of APIs in like the evolution of APIs and integrations in the industry. And then it ended with like the series ended with Socket has entered the chat. So like why freight needs an industry specific integrations platform. And then similarly with mergers and acquisitions, getting the conversation out around like what are the drivers of M&A that we've been seeing, and what's the life cycle of M&A, and where is it beneficial to bring in outside help? Just like creating that larger conversation and sharing valuable information and educational content about these larger topics that tie into your products and services.
That's good. I like how they all kind of build upon each other, and definitely aligns with like some of the stuff that we do. Jessie, what are your thoughts on that? What have I missed that we should have talked about but didn't?
Well, definitely optimize, like I was saying before, like always be testing new things. I think that's just across marketing in general, not just specifically for new products, but also measure your success. Like make sure that when you are launching a product or even anything in marketing, you're measuring what you're doing. Like how many, like what are your goals? Like set your goals up when you are launching your product and then track that. So that when you are, let's say, 30 days out, 90 days out, a year out, are you tracking? Are you meeting your expectations? Seeing like what are your successes? What are your failures right now? So that when you are looking at the data, that helps you optimize throughout your launch, not just your pre-launch, not just your soft launch, hard launch, but even after the launch. Like when you're launching a product, it's not just, all right, we launched it just for these few weeks and now it's out. It's a continuation. You're always going to launch it until you really have user retention. And I mean, it, you have your stages in a product launch. And so it's not just in the beginning, it's not just a webinar, it is a full-blown strategy. So you definitely, when you are launching a product or service, plan, strategize, and then optimize and measure.
Cool. I like that. Thanks for sharing it. So the next section of it, like we're gonna wrap up these discussion questions, and the next thing we're gonna move on to is something we call like hot words and phrases. And like I'm sure everyone's noticed that there are a bunch of buzzwords in the industry that sometimes lose their intended meaning or just get skewed based on how they're being used. My favorite one's visibility. Like if you ask 10 different people what visibility means, you're probably going to get at least 5 different answers. So what we like to do here is just give people, like Jessie and Teresa will give you like one of these buzzwords. These are mostly marketing related actually. And just give your like 30 to 60 seconds of like, what does this mean? What should this mean? What does it mean to you? And like, these are all words that I've come across that either I don't understand the meaning, didn't understand the meaning, or I just feel like it's used differently depending on who you ask. So Teresa, we'll start with you. Brand awareness. What does that mean?
Yes, brand awareness has to do with like recognition and familiarity with your brand, your company, your products and services. So thinking about like, and ideally related to your target audience, like, do they know who you are? Have they heard of you? Do they understand what you do? To what extent? And then that can go deeper into like ideally brand recall. So when a customer has a pain point, they'll remember like, oh, this company addresses that kind of thing. So, And then if I don't know how much time I have on the clock, but
As much
metrics
as you
to
want,
look at are
really.
things like your LinkedIn followers, your website traffic, that kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense to me now. Jessie, you're up. Content strategy. What does it mean? You're muted. Oh, hang on, still muted.
Sorry, muted.
Had to happen at least once.
It always hasn't have to happen once.
Yeah.
So content strategy is really the use of content, not just blog posts or articles, but a variety of content. So that can incorporate video, podcasts, webinars, what we're doing right now. It's really just it can be speaking sessions too, but it's really creating a strategy to build out content for specific topics or products or focuses that you want to work on.
Okay. Jessie, I'm going to throw the next one to you
Oh,
too. Because
and on that topic of content strategy, I just want to give a shout out to Ian. He was my content marketing manager at my previous company. So I just wanted to say hi to him. He is one of the best content writers. So when it does come to content strategy, definitely partner with people like Nick, who is my current content writer, or helps with writing. But partner with people that can speak to your product and your company, and really tell that story.
cool. I like a good shout out every now and then. I'm going to ask
Yes,
you this one
he just
too, because
commented, so I just wanted to give him a shout out.
I like it. You brought up this next one earlier on in the show here. Customer journey. Jessie, what does that mean?
Yes. So customer journey is really taking one of your personas and really mapping out like what is their whole buyer journey when it comes to like your product. Like what are they searching for? What are they really, what is their problem? What are they searching for? How are they searching? Like really like identify like their whole all their patterns. And then when it comes to like when they become a customer, what do you want as a company? What do you want your customer to go through when they buy your product or your service? What's your onboarding? What is your training? How are you holding their hand so that they get success out of your product or service? I definitely think that is so important for like customer retention too, to focus on what is the customer journey.
Okay, that clears things up for me. Teresa, I'm doing the next one for you, even though you told me you didn't want this one. Omni-channel marketing.
Oh yes.
What on earth is that?
It's this. This is the most buzzy word on this list, in my opinion. But that being said, omni-channel marketing is like all the different channels. So making sure you're using any channels that make sense to you. So like traditional channels, digital channels. I think it's also worth mentioning, I had said earlier, like all the different channels, but most importantly, the ones that make sense to you. So for example, like Metafora is not doing billboard marketing, but there are instances
Can
where
you imagine?
billboard marketing would work for certain products or services in some industries. But like understanding what channels your customers are paying attention to and what communication styles they prefer, and then utilizing those. But yeah, omnichannel references like traditional and digital channels.
You're gonna give me nightmares of like Ryan and his beard on a giant billboard. Like, can you imagine that? He would love it. He
Careful,
would absolutely love
he might be
that.
able to get that approved. No, I'm kidding.
God, driving down the highway in Chicago, there's Ryan on a
Yes,
billboard.
yes, that's so funny.
Oh, anyway, Jessie, organic reach. What does that one mean?
Yeah, so organic reach is the number of people who see your content without paid distribution. And so really it really ties into your content strategy and social media, like people finding you and your website based off of what you're writing about, what you're sharing. And it's you don't have to really pay for it, which is awesome. So that's why utilizing platforms like LinkedIn, building out a content strategy, having a blog, definitely helps and benefits your company. So you can get organic reach.
Okay. Teresa, I'm going to go down to white paper. And I ask this one for a reason because I feel like white paper means all sorts of different things. But it can either be like a short blog or it can be a really, really lengthy, what I consider a traditional white paper. I don't know why I'm answering the question. Teresa, white paper.
You've got this. Yeah, it's true. I will hear the phrase white paper thrown around a lot. So people do use it in kind of a variety of different ways. Traditionally, the way I understand it is it's typically a report that is data driven, that is written with the intent to help a decision maker make a decision. Does that make sense? But yes, I've heard it used in like a more broader sense of like any kind of like report, and ideally it is data driven.
Yeah, like people ask me about white papers, if I can write a white paper for them. I'll be like, when do you need this by? And they'll be like, what, like a week? I feel like we're talking about different things here, guys. Anyway, the last one on the list, Jessie, affiliate marketing. What is it?
Yeah, so affiliate marketing is really when the company partners with someone else to earn a commission for their marketing of your product or your service. So a lot of people, I mean, that's like Instagram influencers or bloggers. That's a lot of affiliate marketing. Here in the logistics space, I think that's used some ish, but I think it's more of a consumer product tactic and channel than B2B or technology. So, but it's all different. But yeah, so affiliate marketing equals your Instagram and TikTok influencers.
Cool. All right. That cleared up a lot of buzzwords for me. I think we covered a lot of interesting stuff today. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're winding down on time here, so we're going to close it out. Special thanks to Jessie and Teresa for joining us. I had a great time talking to both of you. If you like today's conversation, like drop us a like, share us with somebody else that you know. If you have like any additional questions we didn't cover today, Jessie, Teresa, how can someone reach out? Jessie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Jessie M. Bumgarner. That's where I am very, like I said before, LinkedIn for this industry is hot. So I'm definitely active on there and would love to connect with any of you all.
Perfect. And Teresa, how does somebody reach out to you?
Yes. Also LinkedIn. Find Metafora on LinkedIn. It's Metafora, and then in parentheses, formerly Carrier Direct. Find me on LinkedIn, Teresa Ronquillo. Find Metafora, metafora.net. And most importantly, blog.metafora.net. Shameless plug. But yes, thank you so much, Nick, for having us. This was so great.
Yeah, of course. I enjoy a good shameless plug. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And you can catch our next episode at the end of June, where we're going to be talking about marketing for fundraising. So looking forward to that.
Thanks so much, Nick.
Thanks. Bye-bye.